How is it that you stress over your taxes every single year while they build tax-free empires and even get applauded for it? How is it that you get fined for being a day late, but they pay zero taxes for years, and it's all perfectly legal? Why is it that billionaires walk free, and you're the one always being audited? This video isn't tax advice, it's reality. The top 0.01% bend the rules however they want, while you're the one funding their privileges. The tax authorities won't like this video, but you'll finally see the game for what it is. They taught you that paying taxes is a shared responsibility. That if everyone pays their fair share, the system works. Shared roads, shared healthcare, shared future. Sounds noble. But the truth is, this system was never meant to be fair. The rules weren't written by the ones who pay, but by those who know how to avoid paying. You work 8 to 10 hours a day, pay your taxes, and believe you're doing your part in society. Meanwhile, they pay an advisor through one of their companies to write a report explaining how their multi-million profit was actually a loss. You can't do that, not because it's illegal, but because you're not rich enough. And that's where the real gap begins. Your tax system. Auto deductions from your paycheck. Miss a deadline? Penalty. Mistyped a number? Letter from the tax office. Theirs? Loopholes, extensions, restructuring. And if that's not enough, a lawyer, a committee, a new regulation, and it's all back to normal. None of this is an accident. This wasn't built for you. It was built against you. You visit your accountant once a year. You hand over a bunch of receipts in an envelope, just like always, and you hope everything's in order. You pray you didn't forget anything. Because if you make a mistake, the tax office doesn't ask questions. It assumes the worst. It assumes you tried to cheat, so you panic, you explain, you beg, and pray you don't get slapped with a 5-figure fine. Them? They don't have accountants. They have teams, legal advisors, tax strategists, financial architects, who sit down before the year even starts and design every dollar like a blueprint. They don't file taxes. They win awards for how they avoid them, literally. Most innovative wealth structure of the year. Tax Optimization Excellence Award. Not a joke. They get celebrated for what you'd get punished for. The difference isn't in the numbers, it's in the access. You stress over a single tax form. They structure a network of offshore companies like it's just opening another savings account. You spend months stressing about what's next after your local tax break. They're already juggling entities in Hong Kong, Dubai, Liechtenstein, and Delaware. No, it's not illegal. No, it's not hidden. It is the system. You make one error and get audited for years. They optimize tax exposure, implement strategic wealth planning, build financial defense infrastructures. And when they do get caught, no handcuffs, no courtrooms, no front page scandals, just a private settlement, a few million, less than they made last quarter. And it's back to business as usual. No confession, no apology, no shame, just a handshake, a nod, and the Lamborghini drives off. Here's the most brutal part. They're not hiding anything. Nothing. No secret lawyers, no briefcases under the table, no encrypted files in Panama. It's all legal, written down, signed, approved. But it wasn't written for you. It was written by them, for themselves. And if you think this sounds like a conspiracy theory, congratulations. They've already won. Because they made you believe it's not real, that this only applies to big corporations, that we all play by the same rules. We don't. The rich don't just bend the rules, they wrote them. And you're just trying to survive them. When most people hear the word offshore, they still imagine some scene from a movie. Palm trees, briefcases full of cash, billionaires smoking in the shadows, secretly hiding their fortune from the world. The reality? Offshore isn't a hideout anymore. It's infrastructure, legal, transparent, institutionalized. And it's being used by the same people who wrote the laws that made it legal in the first place. The world's richest don't stash their money offshore because they're running from something. They simply don't want to share. They're not hiding from the system. They are the system. Offshore isn't a location. It's a decision. And you don't need Hollywood to explain how it works. Just look around. Apple once reported profits in Ireland while earning revenue in the US. IKEA's holding company bounced between Liechtenstein and the Netherlands, while you happily assembled their shelf at home. Nike manufactures in China, sells in America, but licenses its intellectual property through Bermuda to itself. Genius, and 100% legal. The yacht you see on Instagram, it's not in the billionaire's name. It's owned by a company, which is owned by another company, which is managed by a third holding firm, coincidentally registered in the Cayman Islands. Why there? Because they don't ask questions. They just stamp the forms. 0% tax, 100% protection. Their company pays for their life, the mansion, the driver, the dinner, the private jet. And do you know the biggest trick? They live in luxury without even having an official income. And where there's no income, there's no tax either. They don't buy cars in their own name. They don't own the villa personally. They don't pay for dinner with their own credit card because they're not individuals. They're strategies wrapped in legal entities. The luxury apartment, owned by the holding company. So it's not personal wealth. It's just a corporate asset. The private jet, a business expense. They had a meeting in the Bahamas. Lunch at a Michelin-starred restaurant, a corporate meeting. The accountant adds it to the company bill. The suit, the watch, the handbag, the golf club membership, PR costs, executive perks, corporate image expenses. And while you work, earn, get taxed, they live a lavish life without technically receiving income. That's why it's called a wealth strategy, not just being rich. Wealth isn't built by spending big. It's built by not paying for the things you're forced to pay for. Most people work their whole lives for a paycheck, but the rich, they don't take salaries because they know if you live off wages, you're the easiest target for the tax system. You get taxed on your gross income. You haven't even seen the money yet, and it's already sliced. They don't play that game. They don't earn money. They move capital. They don't trade time for money. They own businesses that print money for them. And when they get paid, it comes as dividends, capital gains, intellectual property royalties, or internal corporate reallocations. And guess what? Each of those gets taxed under completely different rules, often at 15%, 10%, or even 0%. Sometimes not at all if they don't touch it, or if they move it offshore into a friendlier jurisdiction. Want a real example? You earn $6,000 a month, pay $2,000 in taxes, live on what's left. Them, sell $6,000 worth of shares, pay 0 to 15% in capital gains, and deduct it as a corporate expense through a holding company. Jeff Bezos took an $80,000 salary for years, but his net worth exploded by over $100 billion. Why? Amazon shares. Mark Zuckerberg takes a $1 salary, not because he's humble, but because he doesn't need a salary. Everything he uses is tied to the company, and everything he pulls out is stock, not income. That's the system. The average worker pays tax before they can spend. The wealthy spend and only pay if they have to, and even then they pay less. So let's ask the real question. Why is it called tax fraud when you do it, but legal optimization when they do it? Because they're not playing the same game, because the rules aren't the same, and because they wrote the rule book. Most people believe the tax system applies equally to everyone, but in reality, we live in a two-speed world. One system is designed for the masses, the other was built for the wealthy. How does it work? Billionaires don't stuff cash into envelopes. They don't need to bend the rules. They avoid taxes legally because the rules were written for them. Politicians draft the laws. Law firms polish the language. Lobbyists push them through. And in the end, a new clause is introduced. Special tax exemption for innovative capital consolidation. In plain English, if you're rich, you can pay less, or nothing at all. This isn't fraud. This isn't a loophole. This is the system. Coded, printed, and stamped. And the best part? While you work 3 jobs just to pay your bills, they get tax refunds because they belong to a loss-making corporate group. This world isn't broken. It was built exactly like this. When a billionaire announces they've launched a foundation, people applaud. They think, finally, a rich person with a heart. But the real story? This isn't compassion. It's not generosity. It's tax-optimized reputation management. Because what's actually happening? They deduct the full amount of the donation from their taxes. They decide where the money goes, often to things that benefit them. And in the end, they're celebrated as heroes, while their wealth remains untouched. The foundation is a company, one they control. The money doesn't disappear, it just changes pockets into one they already own. And meanwhile, they land magazine covers. They earn the good person label. New political and business doors open for them. Their billionaire brand becomes even more untouchable. This isn't a donation, it's an investment, not on the stock market, but in public image. And it pays off. In political influence, tax breaks, and PR value. And you throw spare coins into a plastic donation box at the supermarket while they build golden statues of themselves with charitable trusts. They put their names on stadiums, scholarships, and viral peace campaigns, while routing their real wealth through offshore entities on a different continent. Charity is the new luxury. They don't do it because they have to. They do it because it pays. And if something goes wrong, there's a lawyer, a PR team, a tax advisor, a lobbyist, a politician. This system doesn't protect you, it protects itself. The laws aren't written by accident. The loopholes aren't mistakes. They're exit routes for the elite. What's mandatory for you is optional for them. Because you're one person. They're an ecosystem. They tell you to work hard, to be disciplined, to swap your coffee for lemon water, to read self-help books. And then, one day, you'll magically become a billionaire. But that's a lie. Billionaires aren't made by the advice they share with you. They're made by the secrets they'll never tell you. They don't follow the rules. They write the rules. That's why you're always behind, always one step late, always scratching the surface of something you don't fully see. And if you're thinking, but I'm different, I'll break through, the system planned for that too. It gives you a motivational quote, a new TikTok guru, a fresh promise. Just enough to keep you going. Just enough to keep you in the game. Now, you understand. The game was never meant for you. The game is played with you. If this video made you think, if it showed you a world you always felt was real but no one ever dared to explain, then you're exactly where you need to be. Fake Off Luxury isn't about admiration. It's about revelation. We uncover the systems the elite will never discuss and reveal what luxury really means behind the curtain. If you're ready to see more, subscribe, give it a like, turn on notifications, and stay with us. Because in this world, those who know the rules play a completely different game.